Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mindset Monday. I'm Christine Colzing, and with me today is Karen Harmon, my twin sister, and the Enneagram expert and coach inside the Align and Design Your Life programs. And today we are talking about the Enneagram, our favorite tool for helping you to understand your strengths, your blind spots, and how your personality can be used to help you grow your business. So today we're going to be talking about the strengths of your type. And I'm super excited to talk about this because Karen and I have been studying the Enneagram for over 10 years now. And while knowing our blind spots is essential to creating awareness and growth, I felt like for many, many years, the teachers I was learning from very rarely talked about my strengths or the strengths of each type. So I was very aware of what to look out for and, where the dangers and the pitfalls of my type were, but I didn't always know how to just really tune into the strengths of my type. And it's something I think Karen balances really well in working with our clients, helping them to see their strengths and how that's such an asset in developing their personal path to building their business, right? Building their business in a way that really aligns with those strengths. And then also how those strengths, when we overdo them, become the blind spots or the Achilles heel for each of us. So I love the way that she teaches the strengths of each type. So Karen, I'm going to open this up to you, and then we're going to work through each one of the strengths.
Sounds good. I'm excited to share.
Okay, great. So just giving everybody a really short background on the Enneagram. I know we've talked about this in previous Mindset Mondays, but if you could just tell us a little bit about what it is and why we use it.
Sure. So the Enneagram is a beautiful combination of an ancient system with modern psychology that really gives us the map for our own personal growth. So the Enneagram is designed to help you understand how you see the world, what motivates you to do what you do. And what I like about that, unlike any other personality test, is it's really looking at why you do what you do, not just the actions that you take. Because lots of people could, on the outside, be taking the same action, but they could be doing it for 4 different reasons. And so if you want to change an action, the best way to do that is to know why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So the Enneagram really gets to the heart of the why you do what you do, but it also gives you the map for how to grow and change. And again, unlike any other personality system that's out there, it tells you what you can do with what you know. Like once you learn something about yourself, it really guides you into, now you know this. Now here's what you can do to make a change when you're ready to. I find that it does give us a beautiful understanding of our strengths and also illuminates those shadows, those blind spots that we don't see in ourselves. I always describe it to my clients as a little bit like fish swimming in water. They don't realize they're in water because they can't know anything else, right? It's all they know. Yeah. But we can know a different way. We can stick our heads out of the fishbowl and see with a different lens, right? We can see the world see ourselves in a different way. Yeah. And the Enneagram really gives us all of that. And it's simple and complex. It has lots of fun, different ways to learn about yourself and how you work with communication and conflict and relationships and all sorts of fun and fascinating ways.
Yes, which is all so important for building a business, right? If you know not only your strengths, but also your blind spots, it can help you in that communication with your team, in finding the right people for your team, right? Yeah. Like I have people like you on my team who really complement the weaknesses that I have. Some of my weaknesses are your strengths, right? Yep. And there are other members of our team who are, I'm a big picture, take action, worry about the details later kind of person. But one of the gals on our team, Michaela, is very detail oriented, and she will make sure that there's a process and a system and there's details in there, because her personality type really thrives, and that's a strength of hers. And it's a great balance for me. So yeah, when we know this about ourselves, but we also know about other types, it's such a smart way to build a business, because you can look for people whose strengths complement yours. And you can, in diving into the Enneagram, which we do a lot deeper inside our programs, you can also know how to show up as a leader, how to have courageous conversations, how to communicate with your team better, how to resolve conflict within your team, but also amongst you and your team. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's deep and it's broad. I mean, it's all the things, and we just absolutely love it. So let's dive in. Let's dive into the strengths. Let me know where you want to start.
Should we just go through all the 9 types, and I'll just describe the strengths of each type? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start with type 1.
Okay.
And we'll just go 1 through 9. So there are 9 types in the Enneagram. The number does not correspond to anything other than a number. Like type 1 is not better than type 9 or vice versa, right? It's just a marker to give you an indication of where you are. So for the type 1, their strengths are that they're really responsible, they're hardworking, they're reliable and honest. When we talk about Michaela on our team, she's a type 1. So she's very detail oriented. You're not going to see a typo in her work. Like she's got it dialed in. Yeah. Really conscientious. Ones love to be give their best and do their best in everything that they do. When they take something on, you know, you're going to get their very best.
Yeah.
They have really high ideals, and they desire to improve the world around them. They want to see that things can get better. They're really good at analyzing and clarifying, and are really organized, and they can create good structures. So on a team, they can be really valuable in making sure that the details are getting done and that you have structures and processes in place for doing that. For our type 2s are really empathetic. They're good listeners. They know what others need and want. They're really thoughtful. They're very relationship oriented. They're pretty optimistic and friendly and warm. 2s are wonderful at creating belonging. If you walk into a networking event and you don't know anyone, probably one of the first people that may come up to you and make you feel included is probably going to be a 2. They have a great, it's easy for them to create rapport with others, and they're really willing to share their time and their resources in order to be helpful. They can be really hard workers. 2s are awesome to have in a volunteer committee, because they're going to make sure that things get done. And they're really good at nurturing. They're really, really, we had a nanny who was a 2. And it was great because she just was so like loving on my babies was her main goal in life. And that was great for me as a mom. Type 3s are really hardworking. They're very efficient. They are highly competent. They know how to set a goal and get to it. And they move into action really quickly. They're real doers. They can really get things done. 3s are great at making a good first impression. They're very resourceful. They're really productive, and they can be really personable. They know how to work a room. They know how to read their audience and relate to them. They're very entrepreneurial, and they can look really confident in a lot of different situations and scenarios. It really can, especially if you are starting something new or you've got to put yourself out there. That type 3 energy is really great for really showing up and getting it done, but making sure that you're being seen while you're getting it done. The type 4 strengths is they're really in tune with their emotions, and they're really in tune with the full depth of emotions, from sadness all the way to elation. They can experience them all. They're really deep. They're really self-aware. They really appreciate aesthetics and beauty, and being in or creating a really lovely, beautiful space. They can be really creative thinkers. They're really resourceful. They're highly empathetic. Because they can feel lots of emotions, they understand that you can feel lots of emotions too. And they don't feel the need to skip over or gloss over your emotions to make them go away. They know that sometimes just sitting with them is the best thing to do. That's a really important resource for a lot of us, is tapping into that emotional capacity, and 4s do it really, really, really well. Type 5s are really knowledgeable. They're really thoughtful. They're good decision makers, and they can remain really calm in a crisis. If I need to go to an emergency room, a 5 would be a great doctor to have because they know the depth of what they're studying, and they can maintain a calmness when things are getting really crazy. 5s are great with boundaries. They, for both themselves and for others, they know how to create a boundary to give themselves time. They are really good at being introspective and spending time alone with themselves. They create really high quality, really loyal friendships. And they can be really logical and analytical thinkers, really independent and objective. They're highly competent when it comes to knowing data and sharing it with others. They can also be really fun when they're talking about a subject they really love. They can get really animated and excited about it. Type 6s are really good strategists. They're great problem solvers. They're really calm in a crisis too, just like type 5s, for different reasons, which is what is so fascinating about the Enneagram. They're really wise and thoughtful. They're creative. They can be really funny. Type 6s can be some of the funniest types in the Enneagram. They can create really loyal, lasting friendships. They're curious. They ask a lot of good questions. They are always prepared. If you need a snack, go to a 6. They probably have a granola bar in their purse. And they're really good at creating belonging for others too. They can see when people need to be included and can make sure that inclusion happens. For type 7s, they're really playful. They're really fun. They're optimistic. They're really quick thinkers. 7s can connect the dots with lots of different ideas in a really fast way. They're very adventurous. They like to try new things. They can synthesize information really quickly and get to the core of, the idea or what's happening. They're really good big picture thinkers. They can imagine really fun future positive possibilities. So they're great at vision casting, at seeing what else is possible, seeing all the options that you could take to get to somewhere that you want to go. And they can really just see the bright side to almost anything. If you want to find a silver lining, go find a 7, because they will. They'll give you 5 of them. The type 8s are really fair and just. They're very strong and they're powerful. Type 8s are usually pretty fearless. They like to have a lot of fun. They're also good big picture thinkers, a lot like the 7s. They're hard workers and they're passionate advocates. They can be really strong advocates for underdogs. I have a friend who's a type 8 and she runs an animal shelter. I have another friend who's a type 8 and they work in government, creating programs for at-risk youth. Like once they find an underdog cause, they can be really the strongest supporter of it. They're very direct in their communication. They don't beat around the bush. You definitely know where you stand when you're talking to an 8, and they can take charge. They don't mind being the leader, the one to take over if necessary. And they can be really protective, not only of what others say, but what they think. And type 9s are really caring. They're very harmonious and unselfish. Type 9s are great listeners. I sometimes have to catch myself when I'm talking. I have a couple of really close people in my life who are 9s, and I find I can go on and I haven't asked them anything, but they're listening with such a beautiful presence. They're very present to listening. And I really love that about them. They're great at seeing multiple points of view and coming to consensus. They're great mediators. They're good peacemakers. They're usually really adaptable and affable. They're likable. Again, they like to create inclusion for others, making sure that, in a meeting, everybody is heard. If you're picking where to go for dinner tonight, everyone gets a chance to say where they want to go. They really are good at making people feel comfortable and building consensus and supporting others. Mm-hmm. So those are really the top strengths of all 9 types. You can see that some have some things in common. So for example, both the 6s and the 5s are really calm in a crisis. Sixes are very calm because they, in their problem solving mode, they're really good at playing out the scenarios of what could happen, what if. And so they're calm because they're very prepared. Fives are usually very calm because they can put their emotions to the side and just logically deal with the thing that's happening in that moment. So both calm in a crisis, but for different reasons. And they can play into those strengths really, really well.
Yes. So these strengths, once we get to know these about ourselves, what's a great way to create awareness around our strengths in a healthy way?
I think it's just to start noticing, like kind of catching yourself when those things happen. So for me, I'll give my example. I'm a type 6. So I'm that problem solver type. So when I catch myself, if we're going to go do something, we're going to be out for a few hours with the kids, I usually think ahead of like, oh, they're probably going to get hungry. John's definitely going to get hungry, my husband, and we're all probably going to be thirsty. So I've got, a little bag of snacks packed and ready to go. That's great problem solving, right? It's thinking ahead and knowing like, now I'm really prepared. 6s are great at being prepared. So it's just starting to catch yourself when you're doing those things like, oh, look at me being prepared. Look at me having that ready to go. I think all of the beginning steps of everything we are doing is we're waking up to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. It's waking up to what are we doing? And the thing with our strengths is they're so automatic for us that we don't even realize their strengths. Like I assumed everybody wanted to be as prepared as I was. Why would you not want to be prepared? But they're not, because some people are really good at just going with the flow and knowing that things are 9s, for example. They're great at going with the flow. Things will work out. Things will be okay. So that builds into their strength. Like they can see when they're good at going with the flow. And, does it really matter if you have Chinese or Mexican for dinner? Maybe not. So let's just go with the flow and have a nice dinner. It's all about realizing that what is a strength for you may not be a strength for someone else. So tapping into like, what comes easy to me? I asked this the other day in the group, what's something that naturally comes easy to you that you don't even have to think about? Right. And for me, it's coming up with like a lot of questions. I'm really good at coming up with lots of questions. That's super easy for me. I'm good at including others, seeing what others need to be, to bring that warmth. That's really easy for me. Now, I didn't realize that until I started studying the Enneagram, that those were strengths unique to my type that maybe wouldn't be a strength for another type. So it could even just be writing a list of like, what are the things I think I'm really good at? What comes easy to me? And just start to notice, does that pattern match with your type?
Yes. And you could even ask the people around you.
Yes.
What are some things that what are some things that you see that I do that are a benefit, or that just, it's something that you notice about me? Like for me, and I think it's true that we see the world in a particular way. And we imagine that everyone else sees it that way too.
Right.
And then when they don't see it that way, we're like, what is wrong with them? Why aren't they seeing it this way? Right. So for me, I am very goal oriented. I'm a type 3, very goal oriented, action taking. I will make it happen.
Yep.
Huge strength of mine. Also, I just thought everyone was like that. America is a very 3 country. So there is that way of being is very much lauded and reinforced in our culture. So I just always assumed that that's just the way people were. Like, don't you just set a goal and take action? Don't you just want straight A's? Don't you just want to start a business and make it? And over time, I realized, no, not everyone wants to start a business. Not everybody cares about getting straight A's. Not everybody needs the gold star. And that because that comes automatically to me, entrepreneurship is such a great fit, right? Being a leader, being someone who sets the vision and maps the process and takes the action, that comes so naturally to me. that I didn't even know that that was like a unique strength. So yeah, maybe asking people around you, like, what's something that I do that you're just like, oh, that comes so easy to her.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like I see this in other types as well. Like, oh man, she's so good at just going with the flow. Or wow, she's really good at like being precise and getting things done. Well, like I can tend to kind of cut corners and be a little sloppy sometimes just because I want to get it done. Whereas there are other types that make sure that it's done well. And I'm like, oh man, that attention to detail, that's really cool. That is so not me. Even like with holiday decorations, I'm like, ah, whatever. We'll throw some things up. Maybe not. I don't know if I have time for that. But someone else might be like, no, the tree is going to look this way. And you're like, dang, that is a gorgeous tree.
Yeah.
I really admire your attention to that detail or your creative vision, right? And so whatever that is, maybe it just feels automatic to you, right? But someone else could look at you and say, oh no, that's something I really admire about you, or that's something that I really notice about you. So just starting to build that awareness of your strengths, whether you're pausing to ask yourself, you know, just journaling it out, like, what do I like to do? What comes easily to me? What feels natural to me? And then asking people around you too, because they'll have some good insights as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to start. Is sometimes like the fish in the water, we can't see it for ourselves, but the people outside can see it a little bit better. So asking the closest ones to you, people who you have trust with, to say, you know, those positives, I think can be really eye-opening.
Well, and I think we tend to focus more on our weaknesses, our, you know, what's not going well, what's not right, what we're missing, and shifting the focus can be so powerful for us. I also think that when you know your strengths, you can craft your business around your strengths and not feel like you have to do things the way someone else is doing it. Right? There's no one right way to build your business. There's no one right way to market your business. There's your way. And when you are playing into your strengths and you know what those are, you build a business that aligns with those strengths and feels good for you. So you're not pushing the boulder up the hill thinking that you have to do it a certain way that doesn't line up with who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
That plays into somebody else's strengths, but maybe not yours.
Right. But maybe not yours. Yeah, absolutely. Great. And we know these strengths are so fabulous and wonderful to know. And when we overdo these strengths, these are our blind spots. These are the pitfalls. These are the Achilles heels that really get us stuck and a little bit in trouble. So we're going to explore the overdoing of the strengths or the blind spots in a future episode of Mindset Monday, where we talk about the Enneagram. So be tuned in for that. That'll be our next Enneagram based episode. And if you have questions, if you want to share your type, share your strengths, please leave a comment below. You can tag me or Karen in those comments. We're happy to share more with you. There's also more resources within the Align and Design Your Life, the community Facebook group. There are previous Enneagram Mindset Mondays that you can go back and listen to and start building your wealth of knowledge about yourself and your personality. So thank you, Karen, for being with us today and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge.
You're welcome. And I would love if people would love to comment their favorite things about being their type.
Oh, yes.
I find that's such a great way. Anytime I ask that question, what's your favorite thing about being a 7? What's your favorite thing about being a 4? Everyone almost always answers with one of those easy strengths. And I'm like, yeah, that's why that's so great, you know, and I can see and feel they're being in tune with that. And it's really, really fun. So if you want to comment below, if you know your type and what your favorite thing is about your type, that's always one of my favorite things to see. And I think it'd be a great way to showcase those strengths.
Great. So your call to action, comment in the post below your favorite thing about your type. And if you don't know your type, let us know that, you know, and just comment on something that you believe is a strength of yours. We're here to help you discover more about that. So thank you again, Karen. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you in a future Mindset Monday.